while China doesn't want a tariff war, it isn't afraid of one.
So President, November 1st, 100% tariffs on China is what you said. Is that still the plan?
Yeah, right now it is. Yeah, let's see what happens. For me, you know what November 1st is? An eternity. November 1st is an eternity for me.
This is a war, actually, an economic war that has been raging for a while, a simmering at least. And this is a very critical one because China is the world's largest exporter, America is the world's largest importer. America imports of $460 billion worth of goods from China. China imports $150 billion worth of goods. So the trade imbalance is there. The trade imbalance is about $300 billion, and it's in China's favor. Now, the question is, if there is heavy tariff on Chinese imports, the people who are going to suffer, at least in the short run, maybe in the medium run, are American citizens, people who buy all that stuff from China. Because how can you replace $460 billion of goods almost overnight? It's hard to do that. And in any case, you put tariffs on every country in the world, some more, some less. So in any case, goods that will be bought by the American consumer will be more expensive.
China says it won't back down in the face of the latest tariff threat from U.S. President Donald Trump. A Commerce Ministry statement said that while China doesn't want a tariff war, it isn't afraid of one. Trump has threatened to put a 100% tariff on Chinese imports. His threat came in response to an announcement recently by China that it would tighten control over the exports of rare earths. Now, these rare earths are really important materials. They go into all kinds of goods, including consumer electronics, jet engines, and automobiles. And China controls most of the mining and processing of these rare earths globally. The back and forth between the U.S. and China is threatening to undo a truce reached between them over trade. It also may undermine attempts to set up an upcoming meeting between Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
The stock market had a bad day today. It went down about 2.7%. That's the worst drop since April. What happened was President Donald Trump said he is considering big additional tariffs on China. The US and China are having a dispute over something called rare earths. These are specialized materials that are key in making various kinds of manufacturing products. China produces a fair amount of them, and now they're deciding to put restrictions on them. This could hurt U.S. manufacturers. So as part of this dispute, Trump said today he's considering bigger tariffs. Now, as far as where the market was, the market has been really high since the last several months, since April, in fact. And for about 6 months going past, the market has gone up about 35%. A lot of this has been due to big AI companies like NVIDIA soaring to crazy new heights. And quite honestly, a lot of market skeptics have been saying the market was due for a pullback anyway.
Just want to confirm, have you canceled your meeting with President Xi? And
No, I haven't canceled, but I don't know that we're going to have it. But I'm going to be there regardless, so I would assume we might have it. But they hit the world with something that really is not anything that people are going to do, and it was shocking. I can tell you, Howard and I and Todd, we all Scott, we were all speaking about it before, and we said, where did that come from? It was just, that was out of the blue, right? Out of the blue, they came up with this whole import-export concept, and nobody knew anything about it. So.
if they roll back their export controls, the new announcement, would you roll back?
Look, we're going to have to see what happens. That's why I made it November 1st.
We have today issues with the United States. A big part of it is the fact that we have not arrived at a landing ground for our trade discussions.
Commercial activity in this regard have started. This is of course in line with the the growing trend towards normalization in the relationship between India and China.
I like the dollar. I'm very strong on the dollar. And anybody who wants to deal in dollars, they have an advantage over people that aren't. But for the most part, we're keeping it that way. I think if Biden would have, Biden, that group would have gotten elected, meaning Kamala, you wouldn't have the dollar as your currency anymore. You wouldn't have a world domination by the dollar if I didn't win this election. And now the domination, like BRICS. I told anybody who wants to be in BRICS, that's fine, but we're going to put tariffs on your nation. Everybody dropped out. They're all dropping out of BRICS. BRICS was an attack on the dollar. And I said, you want to play that game, I'm going to put tariffs on all of your product coming into the U.S. They said, like I said, we're dropping out of BRICS.